Hello, activists! So, a special thank you to those of you who came last week at our first meeting. This video is going to briefly go over the highlights from the significant parts of the discussion that we didn't quite get to. So, just a quick review. Daryl Davis is a Black musician and activist, and what makes his activism so unique is that he actually befriends KKK members to fight racism, which might seem contradicting, but through simply having peaceful discussions with these KKK members, Daryl Davis was able to convince around 200 KKK members to resign from and denounce that hate group. And he grew up in the 1960s when there was a lot of racism and many schools were still in the process of integration. So he describes stories of how he experienced oftentimes very violent racism where his life was even in danger. But also there was another side where his dad traveled very frequently for his job. So he oftentimes went to international schools where he saw a lot of diversity, a lot of tolerance and inclusion. So he's able to have both of these perspectives in mind. So if you haven't already, I'd highly recommend finishing watching that interview with Daryl Davis that we didn't quite finish when we were having our discussion during the meeting. And the link to the interview video is on this QR code or in the description below. So yeah, definitely finish watching that. But once you have, let's get started. So the first discussion question that we briefly touched on, but I wanted to elaborate on was this one. So what distinguishes Daryl Davis's mindset from the interviewer's mindset of the KKK members? So just to give some context to this question, if you need it, I'm going to briefly replay a part of the video where it kind of shows this interaction.
People I don't even know. Yes. Yeah.
I think there's a lot of sad people that just need a group of people to belong to, and they'll decide that what these people are saying makes sense because at least they'll be a part of it.
Let me explain something to you. One's perception, as you already know.
So take notice of that interviewer's comment that he just made. So if you recall, the interviewer said, well, I think there's a bunch of sad people who want to be part of a group. And for many of us, this is our natural and often justified reaction when we see a group of people like the KKK who are committing these kinds of acts of violence and hate. We want to ridicule and attack them. But listen to what Daryl Davis is saying next.
One's perception is one's reality, okay? You cannot change anybody's reality. If you try to change their reality, you're going to get pushback, because they only know what they know. Whether it's real or not, it's their reality. So what you want to do is you want to offer them a better alternative perception.
Yeah, so I find this part really interesting because what Davis is doing here is he's trying to see from their viewpoint. And he's trying to understand that to the members of the KKK, their racist and terrible beliefs are their reality. And what Davis emphasizes is that you can't convince someone by attacking their reality. Instead, you have to offer them an alternative perception. So that is one of the things that we're aiming to do in Diversity Matters. We want to look at issues from different perspectives. And a lot of the prejudices that people have against different groups of minorities are, as David would put it, they're rooted in ignorance, because while there's a few people who would absolutely refuse to change even if they know they're wrong, most people just don't know the other perspective, and that's why they hold so firmly onto their reality. So there's actually something that was mentioned in the video called the backfire effect. And this is basically a cognitive bias where sometimes when someone is faced with information that's contradicting their beliefs, they will experience a lot of negative emotions, which will cause them to actually reject this new information and hold even more strongly onto their pre-existing beliefs. And this goes to show that if we want to convince someone, we need to, as David said, have the patience to sit down with them, even if we're really upset with people, and respectfully try to understand the reality And once they become curious about ours, then we can offer them our alternative perspective. So, in this club, when we're trying to bring people's false prejudices to light and convince people that racial justice and equality and diversity matters, we need to listen to and address their points of view. And if you remember when Daryl Davis was narrating his dialogue with the KKK member and the kind of debate that they were having, he told us their reality and why they believed in it and the statistics that they believed showed the inferiority of Black people. But then Daryl Davis also shared about the reasons of economic inequality and systemic injustice that are the real reasons behind the statistics. So you really see him going through the entire argument on both viewpoints. So as we go about the year, we will also strive to educate ourselves and our community about these systemic injustices and the stories and experiences of people who are prejudiced against. So the second question I wanted to ask was, what did Daryl Davis mention was that gave him this much patience? Um, and among other things, he attributes his patience to his favorite quote. And this quote is, "Travel is fatal to prejudice, bigotry, and narrow-mindedness," by Mark Twain. And essentially what he's trying to say is that frequent travel is what helped open his mind to different perspectives and helped him to see the good in people. And taking club trips, whether that's local or across the country, it's something we have done in the past and will continue to do in this club. Diversity Matters, we actually recently went on a service and cultural immersion trip to the Native American Lakota reservations in South Dakota. And before going, I done quite a bit of reading for the past year and saw a lot of pictures and videos of the reservation online, and even worked with some of the organizations there. But when I actually got there and got to know the people living there and to talk to them, it massively shifted my perspective in so many ways. Since it's Hispanic Heritage Month, one topic we'll be focusing on in the next few weeks are the experiences of migrant farm workers and undocumented immigration. And one organization, the Center for Farm Worker Families, has a farm worker reality tour in Watsonville scheduled for our club, where you'll not only learn about and discuss the issue of farm worker injustice, but you'll also get to see the places where they live and meet migrant farm workers who will share about their story. So I think this is a really good opportunity for putting this opening of your perspective into action. So this tour is going to take place October 9th from Sunday 3 to 7 p.m. and dinner will be included. We will give you some more information about this in our next meeting, but if you'd like to register in advance, here is the QR code here on the slide. So yeah, thank you for listening to this video. I hope you got something out of it, and I'm excited for this next year.